so many questions about this transition. So I can just get going, and then if Cass and Autumn, if you want to interrupt me with questions, that's totally cool with me.
Yep, if you'll just let us go through a few slides just at the very beginning for some housekeeping, and then we'll let you take over.
You bet.
Yep.
All right. I was trying to do full screen presentation, but for some reason, my computer is not allowing me to do that. So I'm just going to share from here. If you find that the font's a little too small, just let me know. I might skip over some of the slides here, but welcome to the Workfront user group for content supply chain. Your hosts here today, Autumn, Earl, and then me, Cassandra Lang, joining from Miami, Florida. Very hot, but today it's been kind of rainy. So the rain is welcome. We've had some fires around here, so rain is welcome.
Scary.
Yes. We're good to go. Actually, I do want to take a minute for something personal. I am originally from Venezuela, and I don't know if you saw the news, but there was a huge earthquake that happened yesterday, 7.5. So I just ask that if you're here and you're spiritual, just keep your thoughts and prayers with the people of Venezuela at the moment. It's been
absolutely.
Horrible
to hear. I'm so sorry, Cass.
Sorry to start with that note, but I did want to mention that because I have to let everybody know we could use the prayers.
Everyone understands.
All right. I just wanted to notify everyone that this meeting is being recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, we can share the link to the recording later today. So feel free to hop off if that makes you feel uncomfortable. But rules are rules. We have to let you know. Next up, some house rules. Please, no self-promotion or pitching. Don't contact people outside of the user group without their consent. And if user group members share their use case at the meeting, please don't share that information without their consent. And I believe that Mike does have another slide that some of this information is confidential. So, just use it for your benefit, but not for sharing. Now, Autumn, I don't know if you want to go with the next slides.
Sure. Yep. So next up, we have the Skill Exchange virtual Skill Exchange event is happening the week of August 5th, 6th, and 12th and 13th. I will actually be presenting on Workfront Planning, which will be one of our events that we actually have next month for this content supply chain Workfront user group. But if you're interested in following AEM, analytics, commerce, Marketo, AI, and Workfront, please join all of these skill exchanges. Sign up online.
I know I'm signing up for yours, Autumn.
Thanks, Cass. And mine specifically will be referencing planning and AI, and the AI assistant specifically at that. Amazing. Okay, next slide. Yep, so if you're interested in being a co-leader for Workfront user group, if you're in the following areas, we are looking for co-leads in the Boston, Chicago, DMV, Minnesota, Utah, and other metro areas. If you're interested in starting a user group as well, please reach out to Julie Wilson. She's fantastic and will help you get started. Adobe Workfront Perspectives. So this is a dedicated space on Experience League that features content from written experts like Cass and myself, who are Workfront champions, and other Adobe product experts such as Mike. This is a really good place to go and learn from your peers, from champions alike, and anyone that's been involved heavily in these products. So click that QR, sign up with that QR code if you're interested in reading more. All right, let's talk AI in the Workfront community. This is a really important initiative for Adobe to talk about AI in the workspace. I personally was just able to go to San Jose last week. Oh my gosh, it was only last week. It feels like it was a month ago. Last Monday and Tuesday, where I got to attend an AI marketing garage event where we got to go in, try out some new fun things that Adobe's working on in the AI space and break their products. It went really well. We broke it right off the bat, which is always great when you're working in technology. But here we're going in, we're sharing ideas, we're talking about those resources, we're talking about what we found in that marketing garage. So if you're interested in talking about AI in the community, please join this conversation.
Okay, and then for this next slide, I did put the link to join our user group. You want to make sure that you sign up for our user group so that you can receive alerts and messages. If you don't sign up, you're not going to be notified of the next few events that we have scheduled that are going to be amazing. So click on the link that's pinned to the chat, or you can use the QR code to join. And on that note, here are the two that we have scheduled for July and August. Super excited to talk about planning with Eileen Chang. She's she's directly from Adobe, and she's one of the product leads for planning. So we can't wait to hear all that information there. And then AI in the content supply chain with Jeremy Flores, also from Adobe. We cannot wait. And today we are joined with Mike. Oh, quick question. Mike, do you want to share your screen for your slides, or do you want me to just help you out and work on these?
If you have them, I just really need to get through the first couple slides, and then I'm going to share my screen and spend the time demoing today.
Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and then I'll let you do a quick bio. Okay.
Okay.
And introduce yourself. Here we go.
So I'm Mike. I'm a senior product manager on the Workfront team, and my focus is what we call content and approval. So if you upload any documents to Workfront, add workflows to it, and that flow from uploading document to getting an approval in Frame, I own that whole process. And some other things as well. So I am excited to talk about a lot of the changes that we're making and updates to this integration with Frame that we call Unified Review and Approval. I will show you some of the latest and greatest today, and I'd like some open discussion, more so than we usually have in a webinar format like this, because I want to hear your feedback, I want to hear your concerns, I want to show you what we're working on and things that we can do better. Yeah, so this is a slide that we have to share. Just like Cass said, what we're going to show today is confidential. Most of the things I'm showing today are not in market. They're not in production yet. So you're getting a sneak peek behind the curtain before things are released. And so these things are very much confidential. Okay, here's the agenda today. And this doesn't have to be rigid. I do want to show you what we're working on. So how do you enable your users to use Unified Review and Approval? So when you have the new Workfront SKUs and you've got legacy Workfront and Unified Review and Approval living in the same environment, what does that look like, and how does that work, and how do you enable users? We've made some updates to using legacy objects in Unified Review and Approval. I know this terminology is super confusing, but we'll clear it up during this webinar. And then we'll talk through the user journey. So creating a new project, uploading documents. What does the new approval process look like? I want to show you parallel paths today. That's one of those things that's not released yet, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then I'll show you the Frame Viewer, and we'll talk about the Frame Viewer. Some of this is going to be a repeat of what you may have seen in previous webinars or documentation or videos that we've released. But I just want to make sure that we're trying to over-communicate this, because I know there are a lot of changes happening here. And then open it up for Q&A if we haven't done enough kind of in between these topics. And then that's it for my slides. If we want to get into like Unified Review and Approval and why we got here, we've talked about this before, but if you think it's helpful, we can talk about it now. Cass, Autumn, what do you think? Do you want to dig into the history and how we got to where we are?
So let's take a poll first from everyone in the audience. Can everyone give us, either in the chat or come off mute and say, what do you want to hear from Mike? Because this is what we want to hear. Are you a part of Unified? Do you already have Unified Review and Approvals? Great. If you do you have questions specific to it? Or are there some people in this chat that are no idea what Unified Review and Approvals is? We're on the most basic Workfront system, and we need a little bit of an overview. Help us tailor this best to the youth here. So I'm hearing, would love to hear, yes, let's hear what's motivated this change. We are not using URA. We are still using proofing. I'd love to hear the history. So I'm thinking from what I'm hearing is let's go over the history, Mike. I think that would be really great. And then if we have deeper dive questions, we can go in towards the end.
Okay, so a long time ago, like 2015, before Workfront was even acquired by Adobe, Workfront was called @Task, and it had its own approval system. So it had its own project management software, and it had its own approval system that we called document approvals. Workfront needed that visual layer that you have now called proofing. It was a company that was actually called Proof HQ that Workfront bought so that we could do the markups and the approvals. And that came with its own approval system, and that's called proof approvals. So Workfront now was sitting with two approval systems. We had these Workfront approvals called document approvals, and we had this Proof HQ system called proof approvals. And over the course of a couple of years, Workfront integrated Proof HQ with @Task, and now there's two different systems to log into and two different approval systems, which was confusing. So to clear up the confusion, we added to the confusion by creating unified approvals. So now there's 3 approval systems. But there's a very specific purpose behind unified approvals, and that is intended to be an approval system for all of Adobe surfaces. So at some point, any Adobe surface could integrate with unified approvals. So we've gone from 2 approval systems, and we're trying to consolidate it to this 1 approval system. It's a simpler system, it's more efficient, and it can be used across a bunch of Adobe surfaces. So if we could go to the next slide. This is the history that I just talked about. We'll keep going forward. And then we'll go, duplicate user database, multiple approval engines. We'll go one more. So this is proof approval and document approval. I'm sure this screenshot looks familiar to you, but having these 2 systems living in one application is just confusing, especially if somebody's approving something in Proof, somebody's approving something in Workfront. Where is the approval happening? Which one is the source of truth? That's kind of where the confusion happened. So then when Adobe acquired Workfront, Adobe said we have to have one simplified system. So on slide 20 here, this is where we have, one more slide forward. Unified approval. So you see this approve and needs work. I get the question a lot. We are used to having approve with changes. So where's that in unified approvals? It's on our roadmap. We are aiming to deliver that by the end of this year. So that is late breaking news. It's something that we're working on. So the target is by the end of this year to deliver approve with changes. So keep an eye out for updates on that one, but it's a question I get a lot because it's used quite a bit. Some customers don't like it because they love the simplification. Other customers have to have it because it's like, hey, I don't need to see this anymore. It's approved, but you got to make a couple of changes before it actually goes out to market. So make those changes, don't bring it back to me. So we've heard you on that one, and that's something that I'm working on. Yeah, it's good. Approve with changes is a must-have decision option. That's good feedback. Okay, so then let's go to slide 21. Let's actually show this video. There's a video on slide 21. Let's see if we can get the audio working on that and show the video. So
while we're doing that, while we're getting that unified, can you just answer for Stacy if they've got to customize decisions, they can pull those in, anything they've customized in currently or they're set? Mm-hmm.
Unified approvals does not have custom decisions at this time. We're aware of it and we're discussing that, but it's not in unified approvals yet.
Great to know. Thank you.
Okay, let me give a little preamble on this video. A couple years ago, Adobe bought Frame because Frame is a world-class proofing review system. And we wanted, since we're enhancing our approvals engine, we wanted to enhance how we do proofs as well. And Frame is incredible. So let me show you, this is actually Frame Enterprise. We're taking a piece of this for unified review and approval, but I want to show you why we're integrating with Frame. So go ahead and play this video to see to show you what Frame does and why it's so important.
Can you guys hear that?
Yep.
Okay, good.
about to get real loud. Big smile, say cheese. Wow. I'm the man on the beat. Wow. All eyes on me. Bounce. It's about to get real loud. Big smile, say cheese. Wow. Big smile, say cheese. Wow. When I got make your head turn around. Big crowd, I'ma still stand down. Don't think, just say it out loud. Ooh, that's crazy.
Uh-oh. Am I frozen?
That's crazy. Don't think, just say it out loud. Ooh, that's crazy.
Okay, so that is Frame. That's Frame Enterprise, and you can see that this is a work in progress collaboration tool. So you upload your creative assets here, you create collections, you decide which assets you want to get approval on to send to market. So that's the power of Frame. They've won all kinds of awards for design in their viewer and on their app. And so because of how amazing this UI is, we wanted to integrate that with Workfront.
So Mike, we've got a handful of questions. Do you want to get to those now, or do you want to wait till you're done with what you're doing?
Now. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so I saw a couple of them. There was one.
Yeah. Let me start from the top
Yeah.
that I've got. I went through the chat. I added them in the QA. So let's start with the, we are preparing to switch to URA, and we want to know steps or a checklist of items we need to create or recreate, such as templates, existing projects, approvals, or templates. Is this something that Adobe is going to create and provide out, or that you already have made?
Yes, we're talking about that today. I'll show you. So that's a great question.
Fantastic. Okay.
We'll have some resources too. We're working on enhancing the resources that we have. I know there was also a question about, features comparing approved versus unified approvals. We're working on a document right now we'll put up on Experience League. So we've heard you on these assets that you need, and we'll provide those.
Okay, last question then while we go to that one is while you're pulling that one up. Will approvals with changes be optional? If there's basically issues in a regulated environment and this option is not possible for them, they cannot have this option due to auditability and controls. Is that something that can be turned off, essentially?
Yeah, I've heard that feedback as well. And Dario said, I've never met a person who said approve with changes and then didn't want to see it again to make sure that the change was made. And so it's been so polarizing. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make it an admin configuration so that you can turn it on or you can turn it off depending on the needs for your organization. Some organizations absolutely have to have it, and some cannot have it, like you mentioned, for regulation purposes. It's either approved or it's not approved, right? So for that reason, we're going to make it a configuration. We're digging into that work now, and so I was sort of hesitant when I said we're aiming to deliver that by the end of this year. Making it an admin configuration just makes it a heavier lift, but we know how important this is for you, and we're going to do our best to get this out the door when we can.
Thank you. Fantastic. Okay.
I'm seeing in the comments that it should be a group configuration and not the entire instance. So
okay, so you want to see it by group. Okay,
that's what I'm seeing in the comment section.
Yeah, that's good.
I think because of group admins, right?
Say that again.
Group admins. I think that probably speaks to the need to, some people have group admins in large companies, and so you want to be able to change that on a group level.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Kelly says both. Okay. I'll have to take a look at that to see what it would take to make it a group configuration.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's do one more slide and then we'll go into the demo. So this is where we have, was that forward? There we go. Unified review and unified approval. So we are bringing that, it's called unified review because this is intended to be the review surface, the underlying review surface for Adobe products, and this comes from the Frame viewer. So we're bringing Frame in with Workfront and integrating them together. And that's what I'll show you today. That's why we have unified review and unified approval, and it's called unified review and approval. All right, so we'll pause there. Cass, am I able to share my screen?
Yes, let me stop sharing mine. There you go.
Cool. All right, this is where it's going to be a little harder for me to keep up with chat, so feel free to just interrupt me.
We'll keep an eye on the Q&A.
Yeah, and guys, if you raise your hand in this thing, we'll be able to give you an answer immediately, with not just in the chat. If there's something that you want to ask, write that in there. So feel free to come off camera or mute if you want, or if not, otherwise just raise your hand and we can say get to your question in the chat.
Okay.
While you're getting that, JC, would there need to be a frame license, or will this be inherent in Workfront?
So the frame viewer is replacing the proof viewer. So it will come with your Workfront license. The frame enterprise will not come with your Workfront license. If you want frame enterprise, then you'll need to purchase a frame enterprise license with your Workfront license. And frame enterprise is what that kind of the sizzle reel showed, of being able to upload collections to frame and to be able to organize them and get feedback and get to sort of a final state before and cull your assets down to the ones that you actually want to get approval on. That's what the frame viewer is meant to, or frame enterprise is meant to do. But the frame viewer, or the markup tool, doing the comments, doing the versioning, the side-by-side, that comes with your Workfront license. It is not letting me share. Hold on 1 second.
Question, I'm sure you'll get to it. Will there be API access to the frame viewer, even for clients who don't purchase the full frame enterprise, to recreate some of like the proof automations and things like that?
Yeah, so they are available and the bulk of the capabilities are within Workfront though. So if you're building your automations and you're doing that in a sandbox environment, that's all done within Workfront. So the frame viewer is like, you can pull, the comments they have APIs for comments. Frame has APIs for where markups are made on the screen, so the coordinates of markups. Those APIs you can pull using Fusion, and you can do whatever automations you need with that. So yes, they're available, but your workflows and all of that stuff that you need to do within Workfront is still within Workfront.
So does that mean that for customers who have proof automations that like add approvers and build the workflow, they'll actually be moving those integrations just to be Workfront to Workfront?
So if you're building workflows that are adding approvers or reviewers or templates, all of that's still done within Workfront. You can still do your approvals in Workfront as well. You can do them in both places, in Frame or in Workfront. And so building all of your automation flows, those will be built within Workfront. Now, Frame does not have a sandbox environment, and that's because Frame is intended to be the UX layer where you do the markups and commenting. But we have some documentation that we'll be publishing on how to handle that whole situation on building automations and doing things in sandbox.
Amazing.
Okay, so this is not letting me share my screen. It's kicking me out. So I'm going to drop for 1 second and come back in. I'm not sure why it's having me do that. So give me just a second to hop back in.
Thank you. And Keith, give us just a minute. We'll get to your question, I promise.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I read specifically the answer to the number of licenses based on the videos. I'm trying to look for the documentation because it's directly on.
It's like 4 gigabytes or something. Yeah, look for the exact documentation, but I do know that there is something out there that that Adobe has put together. It is rather low, specifically when we're talking about videos, without having a frame license. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think it was like a 10% of the licenses, something like that. I'm going to look for that.
Yep.
I'm going to share it here.
Yep.
While Mike reconnects.
Yeah.
Yep. Kelly's saying 10% of licenses.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mike.
What was the question?
There's quite a few questions in the chat, so we can either start going through chats, but they were asking about the licensing and the number limit. So I think we can get that answered, but there's a document out there that says what the licensing limit is for proof and who can use it. I don't think we need to worry about that right now. We've got a document that can say it. But there are some questions specifically. So Keith, I'll defer to you right now. You said you had a question. You came off camera and raise your hand. So let's start with you, and then we can go to some of these other questions.
Sure, I'll be quick. And maybe this has already been answered. I apologize. I was about 10 minutes late. I feel like I missed everything, all the important stuff. So but the question I have is, with regard to how my agency uses Workfront, we probably won't use Frame. Well, I take that back. The majority of the assets that are routed through the agency really are generally through Workfront. We don't do a lot of automation. We don't see a lot of animation. We're not seeing, we're really routing assets, physical, digital assets through. Print or digital. So is that going to change for us? In other words, if we don't need Frame, do we have to have it? Can we still just use Workfront as a proofing tool without the added, Frame aspect?
Yes. Frame Enterprise is completely optional. A lot of organizations use it because it is the software of record for video collaboration. And so that's another reason why Workfront wanted to integrate with Frame Enterprise. The Frame Viewer comes with your Workfront license. So the Frame Viewer will replace the proofing tool that you use today, and all of those capabilities are replaced with the Frame Viewer. And I'll show that to you today. I'm not going to get into Frame Enterprise today, so what I'm showing you today comes included in your Workfront license.
Great, thank you.
So Lisa, question: how do you get on the new storage and Frame.io viewer? You'll need to sign the contract for Frame, what we call Frame or Workfront V2 SKUs. So the new Workfront SKUs, you have to sign a contract for that. There are a couple of options. I'd contact your Workfront representative to see what options you have to do that. But it does require a new contract because it's all new SKUs and it's a new storage system. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Google Chrome made me restart because it said it had a major update, so that's why I got kicked off. So, okay, let's show a couple of things here. I'm gonna go to Setup, and then I'm gonna go to Preferences, and I'll show you Storage Preferences. By default, when you are enabled in the new Workfront SKUs, you and your users will only have the ability to create legacy Workfront projects. That's the default. You will not be able to create Adobe Cloud Storage projects yet, or Unified Review and Approval projects. You have to come here to Storage Preferences, and you have to enable it. So what you'll do is you can click what you want the default to be. So do you want it to be legacy Workfront storage, or do you want it to be Adobe Cloud Storage? And then you can give your users the ability to do both if you want to. So if you check this box, your users can do both. And you can roll it out to the entire organization, or it can be by a specific group. So I have a test group right here that I've created. If you do by specific groups, that means only the people in that group can create Adobe Cloud Storage projects. If you're not in that group, you can only create legacy projects. And then here, this is where you can convert your portfolios from legacy portfolios to Adobe Cloud Storage portfolios. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'm gonna walk through that process here in a second. But if you want to start converting portfolios from legacy to Adobe Cloud Storage, you do that here, and you can do them in bulk and type in a bunch of portfolios at one time. But once you go to Adobe Cloud Storage, and it's now an Adobe Cloud Storage portfolio, all of your legacy projects, all of your legacy workflows, that will come with it. You can, the caveat here is that you can only create net new Adobe Cloud Storage projects if you convert the portfolio. So I'm going to pause there. There are probably a lot of questions about that. Yeah, Frame Viewer equals Proof Viewer. That's right. So proofing's not going away. Proofing will still be done. It's still a core functionality of Workfront. We're just moving it to the Frame Viewer.
Okay, so I've got quite a few questions. Let's start from the top. Is best practice only using Frame.io on a go-forward basis to set it with new storage instead of legacy?
That's our recommendation as far as it makes sense to your organization. Now, there's going to be some change management. There are going to be some updates. That's why we're creating this configuration to allow you to granularly control the rollout, because your existing workflows are not going away. They're still going to be there, but we want to give you a time and opportunity to make the transition. Now, why are we doing this beyond what I just showed you? So, of course, we're trying to consolidate these review and approval systems, but really the future vision is that Workfront, Frame, Photoshop, all of these applications are going to be integrated with each other, and that's using this underlying Adobe Cloud Storage layer to store your assets. So that means no more downloading, no more uploading. Once it's in Adobe Cloud Storage, you can pull it into Workfront, you can pull it into Photoshop, you can pull it into whatever Adobe application you need to, without constantly keeping track of where things are going, where they're coming from, taking the time to upload them and download them. So integrating all of these applications together to make your end-to-end workflow a lot smoother. So that's the vision of what we're trying to accomplish, and that's very, very quickly becoming a reality. So as we move towards that, Workfront and Frame are really kind of leading the charge here, because Workfront's the approval layer. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing here.
Will there be able to automate this with Fusion?
Yes. We are creating some of the things you will need to update your Fusion scenarios, especially if you're going from document approvals to unified approvals. Your unified approval scenarios will still work because it's still unified approvals. It's still using the same unified approvals engine. I wouldn't take it all for granted that everything's going to work though. So I would double check your automations. Some of the things, especially if you're coming from document approvals, will need to be updated because the endpoints are different.
Okay. And one more from Nuria, and then if we need more about this, is there a way for the new approval workflows to set rules such as the following? If 2 approve, if 3 reject? Am I saying that right, Nuria? Do you want to add any more context there?
So I think if like trigger rules for how things stages are completed, or how things are approved. So if 3 people approve, then that's approved. I'm looking at additional triggers.
Okay.
I don't have them specifically on the roadmap yet, but it is something that I'm considering. It would end up, at least in the nearer term, would be something more like majority rules, or all approval decisions are made. Those are things that I'm considering, but I don't have an ETA for those.
Oof. Okay, thank you. We're just curious, if 2 or more people approve, is that considered approved? And being able to configure what is considered approved within a population. So thank you.
As of today, if to get an approval, then all approvers need to approve.
David's asking, can we switch the storage preference at any times? What is the experience when the switch to enterprise is made?
So the storage is done at the project level. If you're creating a legacy Workfront project, that storage will be in legacy Workfront. If you're creating an Adobe Cloud Storage project, that storage will be in Adobe, and it will go towards your Adobe Cloud Storage quota. So you'll have 2 storage quotas. You'll have 2 storage quotas is how that works.
We have another question about how the new storage interacts with AEM assets.
So there is an integration with AEM assets, so you'll be able to send your assets to AEM. Now we're not doing it automatically. You could create a Fusion scenario to do it automatically, but we're not automatically sending things to AEM assets because we want admins and users to have control over what gets sent there. We're considering additional things to make that easier. But for now, that's how it works, is once an asset is approved, then you can send it to an AEM assets folder, and then it'll be in AEM assets.
And I've actually tried this directly from the new storage. And basically when an asset is approved, you can just select it and say send to AEM, and you can select the folder where it's going to land. And it's pretty, I really like that interface now to send to AEM assets a lot smoother than the legacy. I really enjoyed that process, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, and Victoria asked, is this integration still native? Yes, it's still, AEM Assets is still native integration.
Yeah. We have a raised hand. Dario?
Oh, that's me. I was the one that asked about the assets question. Just following up on that, are we able to build in workflows and stuff too, that if stuff's getting pulled from Workfront into AEM, the metadata is coming with it as well?
I will have to get back to you on the metadata. I don't know the latest and greatest there. That's my colleague Travis that owns it, so I'll have to double check with him.
Okay.
So I can take that as a follow-up item.
If you need the scenario, it's basically the goal is to have everything tagged that's going into the dam before it even gets there. So
yeah, that makes
open,
sense.
stuff's tagged, yada yada.
Yep. Okay. Will it be compatible with Excel files or SharePoint links? We don't use Workfront traditional marketing use. We need to review different types of documents. So Excel files will show up and render in Workfront. So Excel files, like any sort of Microsoft Office or M365 suite application is supported in Workfront. As for SharePoint links, can you tell me more about the SharePoint links? Because we don't have the native storage, like SharePoint storage integration built.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so we tend to store a lot of our files in SharePoint links, a lot of our documents, more specifically the Excel files that I was referring to. And so we've tried it with the current grouping tool. There is an option to use the SharePoint link, but it has not worked for us. So that's what I was wanting to learn more about.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to take that back as a follow-up item. Because if it's there and it's not working, that's something I'll need to look into.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, will data in legacy Workfront storage migrate to enterprise storage, or will it stay in legacy? So that's one of the things that is a constraint right now is documents in legacy storage have to stay in legacy storage, and documents in Adobe Cloud Storage have to stay in Adobe Cloud Storage. So if you start moving objects across storage layers, the documents won't go with it. They're fundamentally different storage types, and so doing the work to allow documents to go across storage types is a pretty heavy lift. And so right now the storage layers are separated. You can't move documents from one storage to another. That's why we're allowing both project types to live under the same portfolio, because you'll still have access to everything. You're just accessing it from a different storage type. Will we still be able to attach an approval to an Excel file if it doesn't create a frame file? So, Kelly, I'm not following fully the question. Are you able to explain more what you mean there?
Yeah, you had mentioned that we can still upload Excel files, and they would load to Workfront, but they wouldn't be like in Frame. So how would the approvals work? Because aren't the approvals attached to Frame?
The approval is done through a unified approval engine. So if you attach an approval in Workfront, that approval will show in Frame as well. And that's actually where you do attach the approval.
Sorry, is it me, or are you get a little muffled, Mike? Is it coming clear for everyone else?
Am I muffled?
No, it's muffled.
Okay, it's a little bit. I don't know. It's something switched on it. It's just a little bit muffled. Thank you.
I think
that's like super recent.
I think it's because Kelly has some like background noise. Maybe I'm hearing some interference. So I think if we all mute ourselves, we'll be able to hear him.
Kelly, you want to ask that question again?
Yeah, so when you were talking about loading Excel files into Workfront, whether they work with Frame, answering the other question, I just wanted to kind of clarify how the approvals will still work if it's not creating a Frame file. Well, it'll still function the same as far as approvals go if you need to get an approval on an Excel file?
Yeah, so there's not such thing as a Frame file and a Workfront file anymore. It's Adobe Cloud Storage. So Workfront and Frame are pulling from the exact same storage layer. So when it's uploaded into Adobe Cloud Storage and you add an approval on it, that approval is reflected in Workfront and it's reflected in Frame at the same time. So if you upload an Excel file to Workfront and you add an approval on it, that's instantly shown in Frame. The document is shown in Frame and the approval is shown in Frame.
Okay, so perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
And it looks like Malcolm's asking another one. If you see that in the chat, Mike.
Yeah, so migrating proofing workflows, or we need to rebuild them. Let's talk about that. I think I'm still sharing my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Changes. Okay, so this is a development environment. This is not going to be in production for a couple of weeks. This will be in the July release. So I can do a new project from template, and you see how many just random templates we've got in this test environment. You see this clock icon next to the template shows that it's a legacy template. If it does not have a clock icon, it is an Adobe Cloud Storage template. I can select a legacy template and I can say, create this project on Adobe Cloud Storage, check that box and hit use template. And it'll say, just like I explained, just barely, documents and folders won't go forward, but everything else is gonna go. So I hit create, I can select which portfolio or program I want to create it for, and I'll just hit create project. And I just created an Adobe Cloud Storage project. You see that clock icon is not there. I just created an Adobe Cloud Storage project using a legacy Workfront template. So all of your legacy templates you can use, but your file folders and documents won't go over. You'd have to re-upload those. So the clock icon will confuse our end users. They'll interpret it as a recently used template. So the clock icon is, you can turn off what they see and what they don't see, right? So if they don't have the ability to create any ESM projects, or sorry, ESM is an internal term, Adobe Cloud Storage projects, then those won't be visible. We have to redo all of our templates if we use folders. If all of your templates have folders on them, you don't have to redo the templates. It's just that the folders won't go with them. If you have to use the folders, then yes, you'll have to recreate the template.
Quick question, Mike, on that recreate the template. Can you copy a template from the Workfront storage and have it become, like if you use a copy template, will it become enterprise storage when you copy it, or will it stay legacy?
It would stay legacy. So if you need to create an Adobe Cloud Storage template, it has to be a net new template. We use project templates and a Salesforce integration. Can we control from within the Fusion scenario to direct to enterprise storage rather than legacy source? Yeah, so you could control within Fusion to use Adobe Cloud Storage instead. You don't need to recreate the project templates. You can, if you want to, you can use Fusion to create Adobe Cloud Storage projects using legacy templates. It's just that the file folders and the documents won't, they will not go over to Adobe Cloud Storage. So your Fusion scenarios will still work if you're using the legacy templates. The way that you do it in Fusion is that the parent object has to be Adobe Cloud Storage, and then it'll automatically create the child object as Adobe Cloud Storage.
Yeah, I love Lisa's question. Can you explain a little bit more of the benefits of moving to the enterprise storage? Because I myself was just having that same thought, or what the difference is if I was off suggesting it to a client.
Okay, so Adobe Cloud Storage is Adobe's storage layer. So if you put something in Adobe Cloud Storage, any Adobe application is pulling from that Adobe Cloud Storage. If it's in Workfront, it's only in Workfront. So if you want to get it from Workfront to somewhere else, you've got to download that asset and re-upload it to any other Adobe application. We have a lot of customers who are using Photoshop and using Frame and using Workfront and using AEM assets, and they're having to constantly download and re-upload things, and it's super frustrating and super annoying and really inefficient. Adobe Cloud Storage solves that problem. So it works with your Adobe application. That's integrating all of these layers together.
Mike, I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
about the storage. Because I've been running some tests, right? So I opened up Photoshop and Illustrator, and I was trying to save a file and trying to bring it into Workfront. Where exactly? Because I have an issue with everything gets called a project. There are projects when I'm in Express. There are projects when I'm in Creative Cloud. There are projects when I'm in Workfront. And I know that there's project folders, but a folder is something different in every single environment that we're at. So just trying to understand where exactly would I save something to Workfront if I am in any of the Creative Cloud products.
So Workfront is, that's where you're kicking off your projects.
Right.
And so there are a couple pieces to this. Adobe Cloud Storage, the lowest thing that they have in their hierarchy in Adobe Cloud Storage is a project. So if you go down to the task or issue or subtask level, that concept doesn't exist in Adobe Cloud Storage. So what we're doing in Workfront is we're creating folders and tagging them to a task so that they live together. So you would see subfolders under your, let's say you have like a mountable drive, you would see subfolders under your project that are named whatever the task is. But if you're uploading them, I recommend upload it onto like a task. I recommend doing that in Workfront. You can, of course, once the folder is created, it'll, in Adobe Cloud Storage, it'll, on your mountable drive, it'll reflect whatever is in Workfront, and then you can just keep uploading your assets there. So it basically looks to Workfront as the source of truth for the hierarchy.
Got it. Okay.
So there's questions. It sounds like we're going to have to recreate workflows and templates as legacy. Will be sunsetting at some point. So legacy will sunset at some point. I don't have an answer for when that will happen. We've been trying to move off of document approvals onto unified approvals for years, understanding that it takes a long time to do the change management and make these moves. So we're gonna give you the time that you need to make those changes and the resources and tools that you need to make those changes. We're constantly rolling out updates like today, the portfolio conversion, allowing legacy templates to be reused in Adobe Cloud Storage. We have more things coming to make this transition easier so that you don't have to think about, what's the compatibility and what am I doing? Ultimately, Adobe Cloud Storage will just be the better place to do your workflows, and we'll have that natural progression to that. So we're pushing for features to make that easier every day. Okay, there's lots of questions. I think, Autumn, can you help me get caught up here? You're on mute.
So sorry. Does that mean Adobe Cloud Storage is the storage location for everything in the assets as well, the source of truth for the files themselves?
Yes, it is.
Yep. Okay. And then how will the two storage types affect reporting off UAR in an Adobe Storage and Proof in Legacy?
So unified approvals reporting, so if you move to the new SKUs, you're on unified approvals. And so the reporting will work the same on Legacy and unified review and approvals because it's using the same underlying approvals engine, which is unified approvals.
So if you have both, how do you report out on both? Like, are they divided out or are they all seen under the same reports? I think that's what I'm
It'll show in the same report as unified approvals.
Okay. So it would be all the same no matter what. Is there something that somebody can do to, like, do they need to create a custom field to say, hey, this is specifically for new, this is for old? Do you understand what I'm saying or asking?
Yeah, curious the use case there because the approval engine is the same. So
Okay.
You're getting an approval in the same way and making the same decisions. It's just that the UX is the UI layer is different. That's the thing that's changing. So if you're already on unified approvals, this transition should be a lot easier. Your fusion scenario should already work because unified review and approval, the underlying technology is still unified approvals.
Got it. Okay. And then Workfront Kickstart seems to only work with legacy storage and not enterprise storage. Any way to bulk import into Workfront and have it become enterprise storage? It's a great question.
Only work with legacy storage, not enterprise storage. And bulk import into Workfront and have it become it. What do you mean by bulk import into Workfront and have it become enterprise storage? I think
so. We
Yeah, go
use we were using Kickstarts to import templates into Workfront, and it created them all under like the legacy Workfront storage. It wasn't creating them, even though they had both legacy and enterprise. There didn't seem to be a way to specify that it should be created as like a enterprise storage object.
Okay, I'll have to get back to you on that. Offhand, I don't have an answer for you, so I'll have to look into that one.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I think those are questions. There's some, so in theory, if we only are using Workfront from Adobe, there's no need to switch to the cloud. Christina also said there's a lot of new functionality, though, is only going to the V2 SKU contracts. So this is just no point. Okay, so I think those are all questions. Is there any questions that I missed, guys? I know we only have about 10 minutes left. If there's a question that we missed, please put it in the chat. Again, apologies if we missed something.
Yeah,
we got to most everything.
Yeah, I had a lot of demo to get to, but I know you have a lot of questions, so I wanted.
No, I think Keith said let's do demo. So I'll go off mute or go on mute and let's do.
Yeah, let's do demo. I'm gonna just focus on demo for a minute. I think it's super important to answer these questions, which is why I wanted to take the time to do this. And we'll do as product managers. There are a few of us working on this effort. We've committed to doing more webinars to get in front of you. And I know Jeremy's doing one as well, but that's going to be AI focused. So we'll have more to come. Let me show you a couple of things here. So I created a legacy portfolio. I think I called it test legacy portfolio 625. I'm going to convert that. I'll hit save. So this is going to convert to an Adobe Cloud Storage portfolio. So now I'll show you that the test portfolio is now Adobe Cloud Storage. And you'll see that the project that was under it is a legacy project still, so it'll still live there. But I go to this portfolio and I'll create a new Adobe Cloud Storage. Let me just do it. Let me just do a new project for you real quick to show you. And you may have seen that it gave me two options for new project. It said new project and new project legacy storage. You have the option to, you can allow users to have both, or you get to control one or the other. And so I put the setting on for both. Now I'm going to upload a document here. So I'm just putting this document directly on the project level. I can create a task and I can put a document on the task as well if I want to. So let's get this. This is a development environment, so we'll see that it'll work quite a bit snappier in production. What functionality is only being directed to V2 SKUs? V2 SKUs are our focus right now. That's where all of the development is going. Now, the parallel stages feature or parallel paths feature I'm about to show you is going to be, if you have unified approvals and you're not on V2 SKUs, you'll still get it. But let me show you what this looks like. So I hit request approval. There are a couple of ways actually that we can request approval. Down in this blue bar, or we call this the right rail, I can hit show approvals here, and I can create a workflow from this way. We can upload versions here, but I'm going to hit request approval. Now you'll see that this window has a lot fewer things on it, and this is intentional. You can select any approval template to use. I don't have any approval templates that I've built, but this is where you would go to use to add your approval templates. I can add my name here as an approver, and then I can add my custom message. I can be an approver or reviewer. I can select one decision required. This is the typical flow that the average customer goes through: is request approval, add a couple of names, and then hit this request approval button. For those that need more things than that, we now have this button at the top right that says Go to Advanced. And you'll see that maybe this looks similar to if you have Unified Approvals, the way that Unified Approvals is working right now, where you can click to add stage and you can do a custom message per stage. But this is where we're adding paths here on the left side. I have path 1. I can call this the creative path, and I can add up to 30 paths on here. And each path is its own independent sequential multi-stage. And when you hit request approval, it will kick off all of the paths at the same time so that they're all running in parallel. This is what's being released in July for parallel paths. So if you need 3 stages to run at the same time, you would create 3 paths to do so. Okay. I know I just went through a bunch in like 2 minutes, so I'll stop here for questions because I know this group has a lot of questions, which is great. I love the questions. Okay, Autumn, where are we at?
Yep, so we'll start. We're just giving, Lorena says we love the stages and paths. Veronica states for proofs, these settings are selected when the user clicks add new and proof. Veronica, do you want to?
Yeah, I can elaborate.
Yeah, please.
So today the users, they have the option to add a document or to add a proof. And when they add the proof, they're kind of presented immediately with the new proof screen where they can decide if it's a combined proof, what workflow to apply, all the things that you can do in the new proof screen. But it sounds like the future state process will be to just add a document or add a new version of a document and so on, and then click the button to request approval. Yeah,
so before it was a 2-step approach to add a document and then create a proof, and then if you did advanced proof, you're right, you had a bunch of options, like you could do e-signature or whatever, the advanced proof or simple proof. That is a step that is not needed anymore. So if you want those features when requesting you do it when you're requesting the approval. So you upload an asset, now it's automatically approved.
I see.
Yeah, and if you have Frame Enterprise, you would go to you have to add an approval on it to see it in Frame if you don't have Frame Enterprise. So if you don't have Frame Enterprise, you have to add the workflow to get to the Frame viewer. If you have Frame Enterprise, then that option in the blue bar to open this asset in Frame Enterprise will show up.
Nice.
So there's also a question there about combining proofs.
Yes.
We are working on a feature called bulk approvals. We're aiming for an August release on that. The feature previously where it was like combined proofs, basically what you take 10 images and you'd smash them basically into one file and you'd get an approval on all 10 images at one time. And so there's one approval for all 10, but what if you didn't approve of 5, 6, and 7? On bulk approvals, we are changing that to you group the assets together and then you send them all out together to get an approval, but each asset individually has its own approval. Because you might have 10 assets and you don't want to send all 10 of them to AEM assets, but they have to be approved before they can go to AEM assets. So you have the approval at the document level instead of smashing them all together basically into a PDF and then getting the approval that way. So we are making some changes to how that will work. Keep an eye out for updates on that one for August.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to go through a rapid fire. We've got 1 minute left. So there's things. Malcolm says he really likes the super slick enterprise UI. So that's fantastic. Vishwash is asking, when I checked initially, Frame PDF document comparison markup was lagging to what is available in proofing. Is there a roadmap to make it more robust and have it more close to what proofing or maybe Acrobat provides for document comparison?
So we have a roadmap to continue to roll out updates to Frame. PDF should be working fine. If you're having issues with PDF, let your Workfront rep know, and we'll look into that. But we should be at parity with PDFs at this point.
Got it. All right, guys, we are right at the time. I know there are a handful of questions. What I do recommend is we'll try and get these, so the rest of these sent over to Mike and to get this and get it into an email follow-up. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, Mike. Everyone I know here, especially me included, it's wonderful to see all the new and exciting things that are coming out of Unified Review and Approvals. Again, if you guys have questions, please reach out to us and we will follow up with Mike on any of this. Cass, anything you want to add?
No, I just want to thank everybody for their wonderful questions and for being so engaged during. I think this has been our most engaging.
Definitely, I've loved this setup very much so.
Lots of questions.
Don't forget, guys. We've got 2 more events this summer. One on planning with Eileen, that'll be in July, at the end of July, I believe, and then one also at the end, towards the end of August, with Jeremy on AI. So please sign up for the events, join our user group. Thank you guys so much for joining. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.